As part of our commitment to comprehensive campaign coverage, News 8 reached out to every candidate running for Congress or the U.S. Senate from Connecticut. We offered them a chance to post a profile on WTNH.com and the opportunity to do a 5-minute long interview. Tonight we hear from one of those candidates in this special Nyberg segment. Here's my interview with Republican Dan Carter, who's running against incumbent U.S. Senator Richard Blumenthal. I'm so pleased to introduce Dan Carter, Republican running for the U.S. Senate, but you've spent 3 terms in the State House.
That's correct.
You also were a pilot and flew a C-130 based in Saudi Arabia during Operation Desert Storm. So thank you for serving our country, sir. I appreciate that. All right, so what started you on your path to politics?
Well, well, first of all, thanks for having me on. I really do appreciate it. It's important we actually have an opportunity for people to see me. You know, what got me started was I had a life of service. I mean, my parents were involved in service. I was involved in scouting. And along the way, I found the Air Force as my first career path. So when I graduated from college, I went on to the Air Force. I flew for the Air Force for 10 years. I was also in Provide Promise in Bosnia in the 90s, and then I taught pilot training for about 5 years, which was more dangerous than anything, by the way. That was when, you know, you have these kids and you're flying with, and along the way it was kind of, I came back to Connecticut to raise my kids. This is where my wife was from. I have 2 kids now. They're 18 and 20. And, you know, I saw what was happening with our economy and our state and healthcare. And I was like, yeah, we need somebody to stand up and make it a bit of a change.
You brought up children. How do we keep kids in the state of Connecticut? It's an expensive state. The taxes are crazy. Small business, I mean, people, especially women, are opening up small businesses, you know, trying to make it better. But it's tough to do business in the state.
Well, the problem is, you know, listen, as a United States Senator, you know, Blumenthal's been running around doing all kinds of stuff. He shows up for every envelope opening. But when it comes to actually lifting a finger to help the economy, that's where I'm going to step in.
And how are you going to do it?
Well, I'm going to do it by, you know, working for effective tax reform, you know, making the income taxes here in Connecticut a lot easier, a lot smarter, making sure we don't raise federal taxes, which are going to affect the companies here. We can also bring back companies by, you know, rearranging the corporate tax and the way we do it. It's very easy to bring these companies back. And if those companies come back, it helps this economic ecosystem. You know, if you think about it, companies like GE, when they leave in their wake a whole bunch of small businesses who can't survive. And thereby, we don't have opportunities for our kids to stay here. So I've always joked, I said, I want Connecticut to be a place where my kids can get a great education, get a job, and not live with me.
All right, Dan, let's say you become U.S. Senator from the state of Connecticut. How do you break the gridlock once you get to Washington? It's a mess.
It is a mess. And listen, I've been a state rep in Hartford here for 6 years, 3 terms. And I found that even in Hartford, that I can find ways to partner with the other side, and I can maintain my independence. I'm the 3rd most independent voter in the State House, which means I don't want to get involved in the political gridlock and you know, take positions on bills or put bills up just because they're empty, shallow bills. For instance, we talk about the Bring Home Jobs Act, which is what Blumenthal runs on right now. Well, it was something that wouldn't have affected bringing jobs home at all. But if I go to Washington and I work with both sides and we come up with things that matter, I think people are ready for that change. I mean, heck, we see it this year in what's happened, right? We have the Trump movement, we have the Bernie Sanders movement, people who are just tired of the same old Washington elite. And I think it's time for that change.
What do you think about the down ballot with Trump at the top?
Well, it's definitely hurt some of the fundraising, I think, among the Republican side.
Has it hurt you?
Well, I would say it's hurt the fundraising, but it's hard to tell because I only came into this race in April.
Right.
It's a very short time, a very short runway, as I say as a pilot. But I'll tell you this. What happened across the country right now, again, Bernie Sanders and Trump, is bringing out new voters in droves. There are a lot of people who are tired of the same old Washington elite, the same old political elite like Dick Blumenthal. So I think people are ready for a change, and they're ready for people to stand up and not have the same gridlock in Washington.
We did a report the other night that, by and large, Connecticut is a blue state. But in many areas outside the bigger cities, it is turning red. Do you feel that as you're out campaigning?
Well, it's definitely been red outside of the cities for some time now. I mean, in the cities is a question of what they're going to do. You know, I go around the whole state, and when I talk to people, it's very clear that there are a lot of people who are going to support Trump, kind of no matter what. Because I think they're the ones who have come to a point where they're tired of the same old stuff. They just want change, any change. I see a lot of that in the state. So there's definitely a lot of blue in the state. We talk about Democrats who've been Democrat forever. Many of them are somewhat conservative Democrats. So, we're going to have to just wait till November 8th because I can't call this one. I mean,
I don't think anybody can.
I don't think anybody can.
This has been an election year like none other.
I know. It's just amazing. But to what we said earlier, I do think people are ready for a change. And, somebody like Blumenthal, who's been around your camera day in and day out, or shows up on your TV day in and day out, I think they realize that they want a fresh face. They want a fresh perspective.
Well, Dan Carter, we wish you luck. U.S. Senate candidate, Republican Party. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me on.
And you can read Dan Carter's complete profile in our election guide on WTNH.com. On election night, we'll have live coverage and results all evening, scrolling on the bottom of your screen, on News 8 at WTNH.com, and on the free News 8 app.